Hey guys, welcome back to Critical African Thinkers. How is everyone doing today? As you know, this is a place where we examine everything under the microscope of logic to ascertain what is most factual and logically consistent. So, welcome to another stream. So today is going to be an extended stream. I'm going to open up the conversation so that other people can call in to the show today. I remember that 2 days ago I did sort of a monologue on the interview between Ann Coulter and Vivek Ramaswamy, which I think is an interesting conversation. There were lots of comments, and I would really like to hear people's thoughts on that today. But before we get into that, there are a couple of other things that I want to talk about. Principally, two things. One is about the shooting of the U.S. airman, a 23-year-old man who was shot by the police in his house, and secondly, uh, Candace Owens and a new grift, right? Those are the two things that I really want to talk about. But before then, if you're just coming into the stream, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, right? You can support this channel by becoming a Patreon member. The link is in the description of this video, as well as if you love reading interesting fiction novels, crime fiction novels, thrillers, you can also get my crime fiction novel, which is on Amazon. The link is also in the description of this video as well. So let's dive right into the story. Let's dive right into the things that I want to talk about. Three things. The first one, the shooting of that young man in his apartment. I watched the video cam, the police video cam of that shooting, of that interaction, and it was just heartbreaking. It was about a 4 minutes video. And from what I was able to get from that video, there was some sort of domestic incident, right? And a neighbor called the police to come and intervene, which is sort of a good thing. If you see something, you say something. If there's something going on wrong in the neighborhood and you think that the police is needed, I think it's well within reason to call the police to come and deal with these situations. But when the police show up, they're supposed to de-escalate the situation. They're not supposed to come and then someone ends up dead, right? If the police had not come, probably no one would have died. Yeah, there's a possibility someone may have died, but but it's just heartbreaking that almost every time, or not almost every time, but in many of these instances, just the mere presence of the police itself just raises the threat level to something where someone has to lose their life. Now, I don't know how, whether this is confirmed yet, but there have been reports that that was the wrong apartment, that the police got the wrong address. And yeah, I think that's even true, because the lady that was leading the policeman to the apartment, she was not even sure where the domestic altercation came out from. She was not certain, or that this was the correct apartment. So this can be a case of the wrong apartment, police getting the wrong address, going in there and killing someone, killing an innocent person. Now, where it gets heartbreaking is the fact that immediately the police opened the door, they fired. Now, the excuse is that the young man opened the door with a gun in his hand, right? He opened the door with with a gun in his hand, and that was enough for the police to just open fire at him, shoot him 6 times, killing that young man. Now, those who defend the police, I've been having this back and forth on Twitter with many people who have been defending the police, that yeah, it's a tragic situation, but the police had no choice but to shoot him. That why would he answer the door with a gun in his hand, right? And then I I ask myself, right? This the right to bear arms is a constitutional right in the US. I mean, that's literally the Second Amendment, which means people have a right to bear arms, right? The right to protect your property, like the stand your ground rule and whatever, is also another right that US citizens have. So within your property, you can actually defend your property with little force, right? So with these two principles in mind, it baffles me that the US police, they are so skittish whenever they see a gun. I mean, it seems as if guns are super illegal, because whenever they see a gun, they just start blazing. They just So for a country that has these two principles, a country that has these two rights, it's ironic that the police are always They're always skittish about guns. Because I watched that video, that young man wasn't pointing the gun he wasn't pointing the gun at the policeman. Just the mere sight of that gun was enough for the police to, quote unquote, feel threatened to kill that young man for possessing something that's not illegal, for possessing something that's, within his own house, that he had a right. It's just like, it's almost as if, a policeman coming into your house and killing you for owning a TV set. It's as crazy as that, right? And some people will say, "Oh, he knew that the policeman, the policeman knocked, the policeman, announced himself. So why did he go to the door with the gun?" The fact that you announced yourself does not mean that the person inside heard you. Did not mean that the person. And besides, criminals can. Do you think that criminals cannot announce themselves like the police, and then you open up the door and they begin to rob you? You don't think that's a possibility? So for the fact that the police announced themselves and they did not put themselves, I think that policeman even hid from the pinhole where someone inside the house get to see who's outside. So the young man probably did not hear that it was the police. He heard banging on his door repeatedly, and he had the right to defend his home. He had the right to defend his property. He goes to grab his gun because he probably thinks this is a break-in, and he goes to the door. He looks through the people. He doesn't see anyone. He opens the door, and the next thing, guns blazing. So if the police can shoot someone, if the police is justified in shooting someone by the mere presence of a gun, not even when the gun is being displayed in a threatening manner, then what stops other people, what stops other Americans from shooting any other person by the mere presence of a gun? Maybe you walk into a grocery store and you see some other person has a gun on them. What stops you from shooting them by saying, "Oh, I felt threatened"? Why does the police get to use that as an excuse that they felt threatened? That's why they took the life of an innocent person, of someone who is not committing a crime. Why, if this young man had shot the police, right? If the young man had shot the police and he had killed the police, could he also use that defense to say, "Oh, I felt threatened. I felt, I feared for my life. I didn't know they were the police. They had a gun, and I thought I was going to get killed, so I shot him." Would that hold up in court? Would that hold up? So, it's mind blowing to me that this young man just lost his life for no reason. He wasn't doing anything criminal. He was in his house. That's the crazy thing, to be in your own house and still be killed by the police. It's crazy. It's nuts. Well, so that's why the Second Amendment thing is like a paradox to me. When Coulter was talking about, "Oh, immigrants don't get the Second Amendment," and I'm like, this Second Amendment is getting a lot of people killed. It got this young man killed because if there was no Second Amendment, it probably never have a gun in his house. It probably not answer the door with a gun, and the police would have no reason, no excuse to shoot him or to kill him. But that was his constitutional right to bear arms. And he had it within his property. Yet that was enough that was still enough for him to get killed. So anyway, the second conversation I was going to talk about is about Candace Owens and her newest grift, right? I just have to share this, right? I think I'll just have to share this. Candace Owens and the newest grift, which is, her leaving the Daily Wire, of which she said, "Oh, free at last, free at last." But it turns out that Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire have a gag order on her that she can't say shit, right? The same person who was saying that, "Oh, black people are in the Democrats' plantation," she admittedly, she admitted that she was in sort of some bondage of her own. She was in the Daily Wire bondage, and she sort of got free at last when she was fired from the Daily Wire. And it turns out she's still not even free. She's still not free because it has come out that there is a gag order on her that she can't say certain things about the Daily Wire. That's why The debate with Ben Shapiro has never materialized. It hasn't materialized at this point in time, right? So, who's fooling who? So, who is fooling who? She was very, very, oh, black people are in, the Democrat plantation. She found herself in her own plantation. Even after leaving the plantation, she's still not free. Crazy. Anyway, so Candace Owens made this post today, or yesterday. She said, I joined Minecart. You can now text and receive video calls and voice notes from me directly if you're on there and would like to connect. Yeah. So when seeing this the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, so Candace Owens wants to connect with people, right? But this connection is not free. It comes at a cost. I mean, for the love of God, why would anyone want to pay? Why would she want to receive payment from people just to talk to them? Why would anyone even want to pay Candace Owens just to talk to them? The same person that talks about talk about handouts and stuff like that. Is this not like handouts as well? So let's look at some of the crazy costs, right? To text Candace Owens, to text Candace Owens and get a response, you pay $100. Interesting. To get a video answer, $400, and then to book a video call with Candace Owens with a 15-minute minimum, $1,500 per minute. I'm not very good at math, so you guys will have to do this for me. So 1,500 times 15 minutes. Is this like OnlyFans? Like, is this like OnlyFans for conservatives or OnlyFans for idiots? Right? Who's going to be paying this? But well, I know who's going to be paying this. I know it's the most extreme elements in the conservative movement who are coalescing around Candace Owens at this point in time. The anti-Semitic ones, the ones that refer to themselves as groypas, who are, they hold on to this fascistic, homophobic, anti-Semitic ideology. They're probably the ones that are going to be, you know, paying this insane amount of money to book consultations with Candace Owens. It's crazy. It's literally crazy that someone this wealthy, she still wants to milk people. She wants to milk people. So you pay her 1,500 naira, $500 per minute, and you have to book a minimum of 15 minutes. Please let me even do that. Let me do that calculation. Let me use my phone to do that calculation to see how much it takes to have a video chat with Candace Owens. Right, $22,500 for a 15-minute session. What are you selling? Oh, good Lord. Good gracious. Anyway, let me share the link now so people can call in and we can talk about other things. I hope Stanley's here and whoever else is here and wants to talk. You can call in and we can have this conversation, right? So going back to Ann Coulter and her comments, right? Is she racist? Was a comment racist? Was it not racist? That's a conversation that's going on. And there was this guy that was trying so hard to prove to me on Twitter today that no, what she meant was about culture. And what's his name? Fred is making that same argument in the Discord. And I'm like, nah, the culture thing is a secondary part. I mean, culture is not genetic. If she was making a cultural argument that, okay, anyone that wants to be president in the US has to have, has to adopt the WASP culture. Let's say, let's agree for the sake of her, for this conversation, that, okay, the WASP culture is what it means to be, genuinely American, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant culture. is what it means to be American. Anybody can adopt that culture because culture is not genetic. Culture is just the way people live. Culture is just the way people live, right? If that is the case, then I see no reason why Vivek's Indianness mattered, because by all accounts, Vivek has adopted the so-called WASP culture. Vivek, by her admission, she agreed with almost everything Vivek said, even more than white people. Vivek had all the he believed in all the standard talking points, all the standard whatever of what it means to be an American. He was patriotic, America first, Second Amendment, and with his appropriation of Christianity. Or there's talking about God and all that. Yeah. So his Indianness was totally irrelevant. If she meant culture, then Vivek was totally acculturated into the WASP culture for his Indianness to not matter. But it did matter. And the ending part of that, because I watched the full interview, it was an hour, some minutes interview. I watched the full interview. The concluding part of that interview really revealed, it just revealed what I should have made that clip and just share that few seconds. It revealed her thinking. She said, and I'm paraphrasing, right? She said that it's that it will make she would be more comfortable if the person running for president had some English or British blood. That's what she said. She'd be more comfortable if the person had some English or British blood. And I'm like, okay, so if it's about culture, then saying that as a concluding statement is certainly taking it out of the cultural realm. It's now putting it in, you know, putting it. What does English blood have to do with culture? So is it that only English people um, can adopt whatever is associated with waspness? Is that what it means? Is it that only English people, only white Anglo-Saxon, or only English people, or only British people can, believe in the Second Amendment or the First Amendment, or freedom of speech, or love small government, and all those other things that is associated with being American? Is that what she meant? So that just throws a wrench in that theory that she wasn't no, she was talking about culture. She wasn't talking about culture. And the fact that she even said, oh, Vivek's children, they have to, for her to even consider them American, they have to marry into, marry. I think she said D. I can't remember what she said, and I don't even know the meaning of that acronym that she said, right? Some DA something, something, right? So Vivek's children are going to be second generation Americans, but that's still not good enough for her. Their father was born in the US, right? They were born in the US. The US is the home that they know, but that's still somehow not good enough for her. I'm very certain if someone came from England or Britain, if they are first generation American from Britain, or I- I'm very certain she wouldn't have any problem with them becoming president, because oh, they have British blood, they have English blood, which somehow in our mind lends itself to freedom, to democracy, to Second Amendment, and all those things, all those crazy stuff. But that's how she saw it. And it's crazy. So anyone that wants to say, oh, it's about culture, it's clearly not about culture. It's clearly about other things. It's clearly about so going back to what does it mean to there's a video that I would like to share. Let me see. That Fred has shared on the Discord. So maybe I will just play this video. Let's uh, play this video, then see the guy's thoughts on this. Okay. Okay, so let's go back and share. So you can call in. The link is there for anyone that wants to call in. But I just want to react to this video that's Fred shared. Never seen it, but I think it will be a good one. All right, let's go.
All right. Peace and greetings, YouTubers. Vivek, now what is it that we've learned in this experience? I would like for you to stand up in front of the class and go to the board and share with everyone what it is that you have learned. Let's go to the clip.
You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American black. Can't say that about them. That's derogatory. And that was a great opening segment. Lots of things.
Well, the funny thing, Vivek was laughing about this snide comment made about Black Americans or African Americans. He found it funny, but he didn't find it funny a few moments later when Coulter told him that, nah, you're not American. So you see how easy it is to coalesce around people who are bigoted against other group. You find camaraderie with them, right? But you don't know that when someone is bigoted towards one group, there's a high possibility they're going to be bigoted against other groups as well. So yeah, this was just laying the table for Vivek to get served, and he got served really, really well.
Things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president, but I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
You know the wildest thing about that clip? All of that went down within the first 38 seconds of their interaction, okay? I couldn't even set my snack up good, okay? I had just put some popcorn in the microwave, and it takes about a good minute before the kernels start popping. I normally make it on the stove, but I ain't had that kind of time. And so 38 seconds in, okay, this man has just given this extensive introduction for Coulter, talking about how great she is and all of these different things, and not even 38 seconds in, okay, I couldn't even get my popcorn going good. She was already hitting detonate. I'm like, damn. So, look, bag in the mic.
So I think I like Coulter. She doesn't bullshit around. She just makes her point. She's unapologetic about her point. It's good. It's refreshing, right? If you want to be bigoted with your full chest. Don't be sneaky about it, right? I see a lot of people defending her being sneaky, saying, "Oh, this is not what she really meant." She said what she meant, and it's good. It's good for us to know where people really stand.
Microwave flat. Meanwhile, Vivek getting cooked on the screen. I said, okay, this is the kind of day we're about to have. Wow, right? And the thing is, it's just very interesting because Vivek has been running around here feeling invincible. And I knew at some point there was going to be somebody from that collective to remind him of exactly how they see him. And I'm not even really an I told you so kind of person, but because Vivek kept jumping in the black folks business and we kept catching strays and being collateral because he wanted to have his political come up, so he would latch onto every anti-black and white nationalist talking point to gain some points. I said, well, you know what? Now I'm going to be up in your business. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and camp out and wait to see this demise. But
and the truth is, he hasn't even stopped with his anti-black rhetoric. He still posted something today about, nobody said anything about black on Asian crime during COVID. And I'm like, really? Black on Asian crime? Just because there were clips of, negative interaction between black people and Asian people, all of a sudden there's this epidemic in Vivek's mind of black people just attacking Asians, which is he literally just copied the talking points of black on white crime. He just copied it, and this there is nothing original about Vivek. There's not a single thought that's original about him. He's he appropriates Christianity even though he's not a Christian, because or he wants to appeal to the evangelicals in America, in the conservative movement. So he'll say things like, "Oh, God is real." Yeah, which God? You and the evangelicals do not believe in the same God. You don't believe in the same God. In fact, from your religion, there are multiple gods. There are many gods. In the Christian religion, there is one God. So what the hell are you talking about? So this guy is a fraud through and through. And in a way, I think I understand where Ann Coulter is coming from. I think the reason the reason why Ann Coulter doesn't trust Vivek is the same reason I don't trust him. Because what's to say that Vivek actually believes the things that he's saying? What's to say he actually believes those things? I mean, if he could appropriate Christianity when he's not a Christian, isn't it possible that he would appropriate Americanness? He would appropriate those qualities, that Ann Coulter is looking for, the what it means to be WASP. So let me be charitable and say Ann Coulter actually meant culture. That's right. That anyone who wanted to be president of America had to have this culture, so had to subscribe to the culture that aligned with being white, Anglo-Saxon, and Protestant. Right. Vivek has shown that he's a fraud. He has shown that he would say things that he doesn't believe in to get his way. So what's to really say that he believes in the Second Amendment? What's to really say that he believes in freedom of speech? What's to really say that he believes in all those things that Anne, associates with being American? Now that I'm thinking of it, I think I'm beginning to see her point. Yeah, but I still think that her point is bigoted anyway. But I kind of understand where she's coming from. Now, the difference between me and someone like Anne is that if I were American, Vivek's religion wouldn't matter to me, right? As his ethnicity matters to Anne, right? I would only be pissed if I wanted to say I want to vote for this guy. I wouldn't say I wouldn't vote for him based on his religion. I just say I wouldn't vote for him based on maybe I don't like his policies, or I don't like that he's being sneaky about what he really believes or really who he really is. I mean, he's Hindu. He's not Christian, but he goes around saying, "Oh, God is real." Which God? Vivek, which God?
Like I said, I had been saying eventually somebody was going to remind him, Exhibit A, because he thinks that's going to give him leverage with white voters. And it clearly isn't working because white voters are not leaving Trump. As a matter of fact, they will vote for DeSantis before they vote for RJ. They will vote for DeSantis and Trump before they vote for Tim Scott, and the same thing for Nikki Haley. And so it's interesting watching the three of them, play Cupid shuffle and musical chairs with the stupid opinions that they want to put out because they think that somehow they have a viable shot at being the GOP candidate. It's not happening. Just imagine, erasing your entire identity for the idea of a come up. And the lesson to be learned is no matter how much you play into the game of white supremacy and anti-blackness, they're never going to accept you as one of them. You will never be in their space. They will let you do the work for them. And then when it's time to collect the reward, they come and take it. Exhibit B. A lot of times you have people who will erase their identity and align.
So this last point that was made by this young man here, I see it happening to someone like Candace Owens very soon. Candace Owens is the darling of she's the darling of the conservative movement at this moment. Those who are piling on Jews, or those who are, for good reason, piling on Israel, because I just think that what Israel is doing is it's reprehensible, and the fact that they're acting so entitled, right? The defense minister of Israel yesterday on Twitter says Hamas loves Biden. Just because Biden says, "Oh, if you're going to launch a Rafah operation, then we're going to have to stop sending aid to you." Just for that, Said Hamas loves. So Biden is now a supporter of Hamas, or Hamas is now a supporter of Biden. All of a sudden, after all the things that Biden has done for Israel, giving them, all the support, weapons, money, everything, now suddenly, and then the Israeli prime minister goes on to say that, oh, nobody supported the Jews when they were being persecuted during the Holocaust. Nobody came to their aid. No, they did it all by themselves. It's always miraculous. They're always somehow, the sheer amount of ingratitude and entitlement that the Israelis have is mind blowing. It's out of this world, right? So that's why it's very difficult to, really pin down what Candace Owens is doing now as anti-Semitic, because there's a lot of legitimate criticism of Israel there, right? But I still suspect that Candace Owens is an anti-Semite. I still seriously suspect it. And the toxic elements in the conservative movement, the gripers as they call themselves, they're coalescing around her. She's their go-to person now. And she's going to be in for a road shock, because they're going to drop her like a sack of potato, right? When the time is right, when she's no longer useful to them, they're going to drop her.
With white nationalism if it means that they can climb the ranks. And so Nikki Haley's been getting smoke for me. Vivek has been getting smoke for me. And so as I've been looking at the numbers from Iowa, I said, Vivek, everything that I just said has come into fruition. So again, remember how I said, you can sit here and be a mouthpiece for white supremacy and play the game, but eventually there's not a glass ceiling for you. There is a cement ceiling, because they're going to put the big stop there where, all right, you've gotten to as far as you're going to get. You've done what it is that we enjoy. But at the end of the day, we're always going to go back to our own, which is what white America is doing to Vivek Ramaswamy. He does not even stand a chance. And so now that we get to that, think of this. This man has said every white nationalist talking point that you can think of, right? And he right now, I haven't seen the numbers in the last 2 hours, but before I got on the live, he had less than 8% of the vote, right? I think Trump was at like 52. DeSantis might have been at 18 or 19, and Nikki was at 18 or 19, and Ramaswamy was in a far distant fourth, right? And this is where it gets even funnier, because again, who are the ones in the bottom two right now? Nikki, Ramaswamy. Trump didn't.
Funny thing is, Vivek, in that interview with Ann Coulter, just came across as a pick-me, because throughout that interview, he was trying to find common ground with Ann. He was seriously trying to find common. He was always looking, common ground, common. Oh, we both agree on this. Oh, we both agree on this. And she'd be like, yeah, we both, but you're Indian. Yeah, we both, but you're Indian. Oh, good Lord. Perhaps Anne was actually saying something that I wasn't seeing. Dude's a fraud.
Didn't even campaign in Iowa. Barely. Trump is trying to take care of all of his cuckoo shenanigans stuff he got going with the court cases and everything. And DeSantis, I don't even know what his platform is. He has had a horrible platform since day one. Like I said, all he has is wokey woke, 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 wokey woke, woke, woke. That's all he talks about. And still, even DeSantis outpolled and outperformed Nikki. Now, this might be different by the time I turn this thing off and go look.
Isn't DeSantis out of the race? So how is he still polling higher than Vivek? Or maybe this was an old clip. This was an old stream. I think. Yeah, I think so. All right.
Look, but right now, DeSantis is still number two. But again, Ramaswamy, if I put Ramaswamy and DeSantis in a room together, they both pretty much say exactly the same thing. Ramaswamy, why do you think you were not selected? Be for real. Oh, he quit. He's endorsed Trump for president. I knew he's going to do that. See, now he's trying to secure his vice president option. He's hoping Trump will bring him on as vice president.
And that's never going to happen. Trump's not going to pick him as vice president. It's not going to happen.
Play silly games, win silly prizes. And so that's Vivek Ramaswamy, who I was just talking about earlier. You did all of that. You did all of that. And look what $10 million in Iowa. And the fact that you had to drop out in the first race. Some people will at least ride it out a few states. They'll at least try to get the Super Tuesday. If it's going bad, I'm like, all right, I quit. Iowa got you together. The way things work.
This AI tool will take your idea and create a complete book, complete with design, images.
Take note of the fact that there hasn't been any discourse on anything, there hasn't been any discussions, but the very first thing that Ann Coulter does after exchanging pleasantries is reinforce and cement her placement within the society that she sees herself living in, and where that societal scope and lens that she sees through, as well as the people who see the world the same way she does, where they place Vivek, right? And that means
she gave him a reality check. No, she right off the bat, she just established the hierarchy to say, you know what? Yeah, we're going to have this fun conversation, but I need to put you in your place so that you don't get, you don't get too excited, right? I need to just tell you from the outset, you're not American.
that means that he is somewhere that is not equatable to where they're at. And she had to really double down to make sure he understood that before they could even get into the interview. Even listening to the way that it's said, it wasn't, I'm not voting for you, or I didn't vote for you because I don't like your policy, or this is who my candidate is and I'm really riding with them. And mind you, Vivek is not even running for office at this point. He's already lost. Now, I have heard that there's conversations that, he's in the running to possibly be the VP with Orange Man. I don't really see it. And I say that because I think for Trump likes to be the star of the show. He's going to want somebody who knows how to shut up. And Vivek talks too much for Trump. Trump is not about to compete for camera time against
That's true. That's true. He talks too much. True.
Vivek. So I can see Vivek maybe possibly being somewhere else in Trump's cabinet if Trump gets back in. But VP, I don't know about that one. But anyway, he's not even running for office. But Ann had to remind him right off jump, absolutely not. You are not getting through that door. So even the way that it's said, I'm not voting for you because you're an Indian. Not even I'm not voting for you because you're Indian, but I'm not voting for you because you're an Indian. That emphasis on "an" highlights the context of delineation and separation, placing him in a space where he is not of the same space as her, right? Placing the idea of being an Indian as being an other, something being wrong with it, being in a space where you are not the norm. You're the anomaly, and because of that, you will never get to operate in these spaces that we've created in regard to maintaining a status quo because you're not supposed to be in that spot. So yes, we're happy for you, but that's where it stops. That's her way of saying that no matter how many accolades you have, no matter how successful you are, no matter how well you play the game, no matter how many anti-Black talking points or white nationalist talking points you want to latch onto, no matter how high you ask to jump and you jump way above it and do something, there's going to be a limitation to the scope of how far they're going to let you get, because at the end of the day, somebody like Ann Coulter and a lot of the people who share her same viewpoints, they are never going to give you the value of their whiteness. They will never let that go because that is the status quo that they are going to maintain and hold on to, because that is what makes them feel validated, right? And by you getting that same kind of validation, it literally eliminates the purpose of a lot of people's existence if that were the case. And so for that, oh no, you don't get to go in that door. And so again, that idea of you will never get the value of my whiteness. And what I mean by that is she is literally telling him to his face on his own platform that he is a guest in the very space that he's trying to solidify himself in, mainly
Don't you just feel sorry for, don't you feel sorry for Vivek? Isn't it pathetic? Don't you feel sorry for him? Is he going to learn? I don't think he would. He's going to continue with his anti-Black rhetoric, right? He's going to keep pushing things like, oh, Black on Asian crime. Oh, he's going to say, he's going to keep saying all the typical right-wing talking points about Black people, using Black people as a cudgel to further his political career. And like this young man has said, yeah, he might get something within the Trump administration and all that, but that's as far as he can get. That's as far as he can go. But I don't think he's going to learn from this humiliating lesson. No, I think he has a humiliation fetish. So he's going to keep chasing this high and he's going to keep getting humiliated.
mainly because she feels that she and the collective in which she comes from built all of this, and he is a guest. Imagine that. There's no way you're going to come on my platform disrespecting me and I'm just going to sit there and take it. And the thing is, it's not just limited to Vivek, because there are so many people who run around here thinking that because they are successful or because they fall within a certain scope of intelligence, that automatically it grants them access into all these spaces. But please understand, white America collectively will never give the keys of power to somebody who is not white, because that affects their livelihood. That affects their status quo and how they see themselves and their placement within the world stage. So absolutely not. And so unfortunately, lots of people learn this the hard way, whether it's Vivek, whether it's Nikki, whether it's going to be Tim Scott later down the line, all these different folks who will eventually learn this. And the crazy part about all of it is Vivek can't even get mad, right? Because if he gets mad, it's a contradiction of his entire platform because he's built an entire.
Exactly. He can't get mad. I mean, he's been out there saying that black people are, oh, playing the victim, oh, crying about racism. Now he if he comes out and says, oh, Anne was racist towards him, I'll be like, dude, shut up. You said there was no racism. You said there was no discrimination. Are you playing the victim now? So he has boxed himself in. He can't move. I mean, he's been checkmated, right? He's been checked. He can't move.
Entire brand and identity on the concept of being a raceless politician, raceless public figure. He's a racist heritage. He's a race. Where does he comes from? And mind you, he's from Ohio, but when I say where he comes from, his family is Indian, right? But he's a race, all of that. The traditions, the customs, all that is never a part of his conversation. He's run on the concept of the idea that racism no longer exists. And if you work hard, you can achieve it. And that's the brand that he's built, right? He's even endorsed the idea of rolling back policies that help to enhance the idea of civil rights. He's somebody who's gotten behind the idea of punitive policy and policy that is oppressive because it means that he can get a political come up and political points with audiences that, again, still see other groups of people as beneath them. He's latched onto all of that. So his entire brand is the idea of being raceless. So if he were to sit there and say, you know what, Ann, I didn't like how you said that, or I take offense to that, or you know what, actually, you can leave my show. Oh, that would have done a whole bunch of different things because one, that would bring up that ugly thing he's been trying to hide, his race, right? That would remind his audience that, okay, you know what? Now we're being reminded that, yes, this man is Indian, right? So the very thing that he's been trying to hide and run from, and Coulter reminded him of and said, oh, no, this is what you are. And because
Vivek has always come across to me as inauthentic. I mean, he's always come across to me as trying too much. I mean, trying too much. He doesn't have the effortless grace of someone like Donald Trump. Trump doesn't even try. He's just who he is, right? And that was part of his charm and his appeal, right? It's just who he is. Hate him or love him. But this guy was literally trying too much. He was trying too much to be American, which can also set off some, some alarm bells, and someone says like, okay, is this guy genuine?
because of that, this is where you're going to be placed. And so for Vivek, if he gets mad, he's a contradiction of the very brand that he's created. So he can't get mad, which is why Vivek just sat there and took it. And what makes it so funny, let me just go a bit further, because then, he also had a response. This was his response to everything that had happened, because a lot of people were like, what the heck? What is he going to say here? This is his response. Ann Coulter told me flat out to my face that she couldn't vote for me because you're an Indian, even though she agreed with me more than most other candidates. I disagree with her, but respect. She had the guts to speak her mind. It was a riveting hour. The Truth Podcast is back. Vivek, get up. Get up. My Lord. Oh, my God. But,
Get up to where? He loves where he is. He loves being the bottom. Get up to where?
The funniest bit is, again, he can't say anything else because it would go against his brand. Case in point, let's see the responses of the people who actually admire him. This is a masterclass in how to have a conversation. Ann tells Vivek she wouldn't have voted for him because of his Indian ethnicity, basically not white or white mixed. Vivek's conversation with her is pure gold. Much to learn from this temperament. He didn't call her racist. He didn't abuse her. He didn't sir her. He didn't even mock her. Just pure class and maintain his dignity in the process. Vivek is just brilliant. This is a masterclass on how to have a conversation on pure logic and without racist, bigot, fascist, and Hitler as keywords. At this point, he is being rewarded for being a pet. That's literally what it is. He's being rewarded for being a good boy. He's being rewarded for not bringing up that ugly issue of race. So now it's this thing where we're supposed, well, not we, this is him and his folks. I ain't got nothing to do with this. But it's this idea of now he's supposed to sit here and be on the receiving end of racist everything and just remain poised because that's the way to do things. And I'm just like, crazy. And what was funny with his statement is, he's like, well, Ann Coulter was brave enough to say it. I'm like, it's Ann Coulter. When has she ever been afraid to say anything to anybody? And especially not to be rude. Vivek, who are you? If you think Ann Coulter was going to be afraid of you, in anything. No, she already doesn't see you as her equal. So why would she be afraid? She's literally moving within her brand because her brand has become, say as many terrible things and do all the outrage because that's how she's gotten rich. So why would she all of a sudden walk on eggshells because she's on your show? No, that's not how this works, right? And so it's absolutely crazy. But let me tell you where race can come in, because it's very noticeable that you remember she got in that little black joke she had to throw in about the whole articulate thing. She, I couldn't have said it if it was an American black. She has that ugly laugh, right? And then what does Vivek do? He laughing too, and I'm sitting here looking like, don't worry, you about to be next, while you sitting here thinking you're exempt. Because understand, they recognize that sometimes their proximity to whiteness also correlates with how anti-black they can latch onto, because they recognize that America's hatred for black people collectively will get them some extra points if they can play the role, right? They are buying and fighting for a white appreciation certificate in the mail every single time. And so it's just very entertaining to watch. A hot mess. And to me, I think it's sad when you have to erase who you are in order to be validated in some spaces, especially in spaces that really don't want you to be there in the first place. But because you're speaking their language, they'll let stuff slide. Because understand, he has an audience. He has people who like him. He has people who follow his platform. But again, that's because he doesn't talk about race. It's made him digestible to white America, because there's another conversation in regard to what we saw with the race. And I said this with Nikki as well, because both him and Nikki Haley are both Indian Americans. But the difference between Ramaswamy and Nikki is Nikki can pass for a white woman. A lot of people did not know that she was not a white woman, and that both of her parents are Indian. But Vivek, everybody knows who he is, so he has to become over performative, which is why I think he was really over the top in a lot of the debates, to the point where it was unbearable to watch. Like, what is this dude is doing a lot? But you literally watch him be, you're almost to the space where he has to overcompensate to say, look, I'm nothing.
True. And that's all I've been saying all this while. He was doing too much. He was trying too hard. He was trying too hard to be convincing. And that is so cringe and off-putting. I mean,
like what you think. I'm just like you, right? And so I think of Iowa, right? I think of when it was still primaries and caucuses, right? And he had said, if I can win in Iowa, I can win this entire GOP nomination. And I knew right then when he said that, I said, yeah, white America is not letting him have this, not at all. And especially his campaign slogan was what? A new American dream. I said, oh, yeah, and you won't be the face of it, because to them, that's already fallen in line with that whole great replacement theory thing, right? Yes, they have an American dream, but you're not a part of it, and you won't be calling any shots. I knew it was going to go down like that. And so he goes in Iowa, campaigned in all 99 counties, the only candidate to do so, went to over 270 events. He went, he shook hands, he gave speeches, he was kissing the babies, he was petting the dog, he was working the ice cream machine and passing it to the kid. Here you go, doing everything that an ideal candidate would do, right? He was even rapping, he put on his hat, I'm cool now, rapping Eminem songs. Eminem sent a cease and desist, said, don't you ever perform my music again. But anyway, he's done all these things. And so you would have thought that even if he lost, he should definitely have a huge element of the vote, a huge portion, right? What did he end up getting?
Oh, let me not make a bigoted joke about Indians, but
8,400 votes in the whole state. 7% of the vote. Fourth place, pretty much last, because at that point, it was only between Orange Man, DeSantis, Nikki, and Vivek, right? Fourth place, right? Trump didn't even campaign and still got 52% of the vote, right? That kind of just shows him to his face where people see him. And so, again, it's wild to me. And so it's just like, Vivek, imagine that. And just to double down, I want to revisit this. Now, this was coming from an interview that Vivek's wife had done with some Iowa voters as to why they weren't supporting. Let's go to the quotes. No, I came when I was 4. Vivek was born and raised in Cincinnati. Apoorva Ramaswamy replied, explaining her family's Indian heritage. The attendee continued with questions about Apoorva Ramaswamy's parents, where they lived, and whether they had green.
Not good enough. Even if his great-grandfather was born there, I don't think that would have mattered to someone like Coulter. He's still Indian. He looks Indian. It's unmistakable. He's unmistakably Indian. And unlike Obama, he doesn't have any white parents. So, yeah, doesn't get a pass.
Green cards. They are citizens. Before remarking that she doesn't have an accent. I've been here since I was 4 years old, Apoorva Ramaswamy replied. I've spoken English since I was 4. In an interview after the event, Neeskern explained that he loves foreign people. citing what he described as his two unofficially adopted children. He said he asked about Apoorva Ramaswamy's upbringing because of the bad things the Ramaswamis say about the state of the country. He has not yet decided who he will support at the caucus, but he said it won't be Ramaswamy. Apoorva Ramaswamy had a simple ask for two supporters of her husband's presidential campaign. What do people say about why they're not supporting Vivek Ramaswamy, and what answers can I help you provide? Well, the only one I have, and couldn't even remember who said it to me, but they mentioned his dark skin and they think he's Muslim. A supporter named Teresa Fowler told her at a restaurant meet and greet Thursday. I kind of set them straight on that. I don't know if they believe me or think I was covering for him. I don't know. So again, you see how that ugly thing of race still jumps in even when you think you can just run from it? And I just will also say this because I know people were saying, but he has his supporters and look at how the people were backing him on Twitter. My thing is this. If y'all support him so much, why didn't y'all vote for him? And on that note, I'm out. Share your 2 cents, subscribe.
Yep. Very well said by the young man. Very, very well said by the young man. Right. So Vivek has gotten his reality check, right? He's gotten his reality check, but I don't think he's going to learn from it. I think he's going to continue. Probably think he has some future in American politics. He probably does as a an appointed official or something, but in an elected position like president, nah, not in the next maybe 100 years or so. Yeah. So that's the show today. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in another live stream. It's bye for now.